Hello, fellow druids. We have another episode of Full Circle here. I'm gonna do. I haven't really done an episode exactly like this before, but I'm gonna nonetheless. That's what we're gonna do. Um, so recently, last week I had quite a few different things to talk about where I thought the game was going, my list pair, trying to address sort of a bit of a gap I was feeling, and I sort of felt like I had a few different directions I could go. One, I could just stay the course and, sort of hoped to dodge, to dodge whatever that gap might be. I would not say that's totally out of consideration yet, but that's one plan. Another plan is I could swap out my Una 2 list for something like Bradigus. I see a lot of Circle players actually going down that route right now. And there's some validity to it. I think Bradigus either like Bradigus Kuru 2. I think if you're going to go double bones is probably one of your better plans to do. So definitely something you should consider if you're going to go down that route. And the third sort of plan I had was perhaps I can swap something out for Kruger that might give me an edge up in those gaps while still addressing the type of stuff that he's good into. A random fourth option would be that magically 3-list formats start being a thing, and then I think the way I plan changes significantly. That last one is Pie in the Sky. So there is some momentum behind that, but as of right now, 2-list formats are still the rule of the land. So what I decided to do was, even though I've kind of complained a bit that he's boring and dull, and it's still true, I've decided to, at the very least, play some games with Baldur 2. One, I want to, and maybe I'll have another episode about this actually, I want to try playing to a different style. I kind of think there's a short episode on talking about play style. So I think look for an episode on that. But I want to play him. I wanted to see if A, I could do it. B, if he's viable right now in the game. I won't really know that yet from the few games I've played. It's only been 3, and 2 are in the same list. So I want to see if he's viable. I want to see how I play him. I want to get a sense for like what he does and doesn't do. And then I wanted to think about some lists with him. So the list I'm probably going to stick with for a little while. I don't know that I'm going to change. Pardon me. And but I am really so far I like what I've done. I still would not say that Baldur is the most exciting. I would say he honestly wants to find like the safest piece of terrain to hide in or behind on the table, and he wants to play as safe as he possibly can, because in a lot of ways he can be one of the weakest parts of the list. He can actually do a significant amount of damage with his worm tokens as well, but yeah, be that as it may, you definitely want to make sure you're playing him very safe. And part of the reason is that he can, most turns he's going to only really be able, he's going to like cast 2 spells a lot of times and want to camp 2. I don't know yet. I need to sort of play a little more to see if I can push that a little harder, and he can maybe cast his stack. But most of the time I'm casting 2 spells ish. Sometimes there's some healing in there and camping. So so the list I played, it sort of changed from the first game to the second two, but the list I played is a Woldwrath variant, so it's Woldwrath Megalith. It started with 2 Wold Weirds and a Wold Watcher. And then all the Stone Shapers, 1 Blackclad, a Gallows Grove, Swamp Gobber, Chef, full Shifting Stones, full Sentry Stone. That was where I started. It evolved to basically cut the I cut the Wold Weirds down to Wold Watchers, so I had 3 Wold Watchers in that at that time. and then that allowed me to work the points to get, basically that gives me 3 points once I drop the chef, and add in another Wayfarer. So it gives me 5 sprays from my solos, another possibly 6 from the Sentry Stones. I've got the Shifting Stones. I still have a Gallows Grove, which I think is valuable with him because he, with only, like, a Roots is only a 6-inch spell, so you kind of want your Gallows Grove to be there to help get the buff where Baldur and, like, Megalith kind of can go one way, and you kind of want your Gallows Grove to go the other way, in my experience. So in these games, my Wold-Wrath was nigh unkillable, and that almost had nothing to do with even casting Roots. Wold Watchers are still nigh unkillable, especially when they go to armor 24. So if you put them in a zone, you're just there. That's where you are now. You live there. I personally feel like I am either my opponents are so keen in, or I had such bad matchups with my Sentry Stone that I just didn't feel like I was playing them very well. I haven't been playing Sentry Stones. I know there's a lot of people that swear up and down by them. But anyway, I haven't been playing them. I felt like I did not play them particularly well. They died really early in all my games. So that's a piece I'm trying to work on, or I'm going to need to try to work on. The Shifting Stones did okay. I think they're kind of essential. You want something to score. They heal. They can place when it's appropriate. That may evolve over time. We'll see how the list plays out. And I've been liking the list. Like I said, the Wold-Wrath brings a gun that's relevant. I do need to remember to run him on turn 1. Basically always. I made the mistake of not running him against one of the lists, and it worked out okay, but the few models I killed for the Lightning AoE were not really worthwhile. So to go over the games I played really quick, first game was into Denegra 1. And she was playing the Scourge of the Broken Coast, I believe it is, the Satixis theme, and even with her feat, she just did not possess the damage to get through that list. Roots basically offsets Parasite directly. I think he did kill one of the Wold Watchers eventually, but he had to expose Nightmare to do it. Megalith killed Nightmare. Eventually just rode that to a scenario game. The next two, this is when I switched to the Wold Watchers, were into Grim 2. Again, same sort of thing, and I think this is going to be a trend that a lot of times if you just don't have the oomph to get through it. One finding there, though, was be wary of certain types of ambush units on scenarios where there's a circle wide enough, because I was having, a lot of times, I kind of had Wold-Wrath, if the center of the table is sort of where the camera is, so where my face is the center, I would frequently have Wold-Wrath kind of off on a not really on a flank, but edging toward a side, and then my usually Megalith, I think is how I had it, was on the other side, and I could kind of and then the Watchers sort of all up the middle, and then I could kind of use that to move out. I think against anything, this was Battle Bears. I think against anything but them, I can use the Sentry Stone to sort of take care of whatever they're bringing in off the flank with ambush. But with the bears in particular, I needed something that did enough damage over there to kill them, and the Wold Watchers do okay. I actually found out in game 2, but I still sort of had to divert Megalith both games, and it was right to do because it gave me enough scenario points to be in the driver's seat. I did almost screw up in the second game into Grim and give him an assassination, but he duffed one of his rolls that should have probably missed, and I do okay. Good lesson there. I've had an entire episode about this on the channel. When you're up, don't lose. Baldur can play to turn 7, and that's another part of trying to pick up this list is, or a list of this style is, Baldur should be able to play to turn 7. I should let Baldur play to turn 7, and just, I've just been trying to make sure that I have, that I'm keeping equal or +1 scenario points going through the game, and that I can write out. I'm also thinking, as long as I keep getting familiar with the list, I'm going to probably have a decent enough advantage on the clock to possibly win via that approach as well. So we'll see. You need to keep trying it. I've definitely had some other thoughts on Baldur while while I've been looking at them. I don't know if these will materialize or what they'll materialize into. So I've sort of identified a few different archetypes. One is you can go the Woldrath route, the list I'm playing. I have seen a Woldrath and Fulcrum route. One of the issues, and usually when I see that, it's like weird Fulcrum, Wrath, Megalith, and then the support pieces. The issue I kind of see with that variant, personally, is it seems to me like part of the reason you bring the Fulcrum, obviously it's like damage output at range is pretty good, but also you want it there to help Fury manage your Wolds, and with so few Wolds, you almost kind of don't need the Fury management so much. Like I was playing with, I guess it works out to 5 Wolds, and not really having too much of a problem as it was between the Shifting Stones and the Stonekeepers and Baldur himself. So I don't really know what so it's probably fine, right? I can fill up the Woldreds every turn and then pull 3 off of them and still have plenty to pull for Baldur. The 2 huge bases, I'm so on how I like it. I have not tested it. Mind you, I've not tested anything but what I've said. So I haven't tested that. So maybe that's a good build. It seems like people have shied away from it so far. Not that I always go off of what everybody else is doing, but I've seen less of those builds lately. But anyways, that's another direction I could go. I actually came up with a build that was only 1 Celestial Fulcrum, no Woldrath, with Megalith, 2 Guardians, 2 Watchers, the full loadout of Blackclads, Shifting Stones, and actually I had 2 Stonekeeper. I had a Stonekeeper on each unit of Shifting Stones. Which a lot of people are like, why are you doing that? But this right now it's just sort of like a crazy test idea, but they are they go up to Magic 7 if they can be within 10 inches of the Fulcrum, which is usually doable. And then they are a range 8, POW 14, AoE 3 crit knockdown spell, which is pretty good. I'm actually thinking those are might be pretty decent also with the Woldrath's Animus. I have not tested that either, but seems like there could be something there. And I don't know, and just in general, I feel like a lot of people have kind of been really negative on them, but like 2 points means they're the same. Like 1 Stonekeeper is the same points as a single Druid of Orboros model in the unit, and having played them, I actually think, I mean, there's some synergies from having the full unit and the attachment, bring some other stuff and whatnot, but like, one of the main things they do is just wind strike or do the 8-inch knockdown. He can kind of do a little bit of both. And a POW 14 is like significant. That you've sort of like a POW 14 damage roll is sort of when you've gone over a little bit of an edge. I mean, he's not like doing significant damage to heavies or anything like that, but maybe there's something there. Maybe I'm crazy, and if so, there's certainly other options that I can do with those points. So. That's a build that I have come up with. I've sort of been playing around with the idea of using 1 or 2 Fulcrums and getting 100 points of battle group, and then that gives me 4 free cards, and Baldur has 5 points, so you can kind of finagle it possibly to still get a Sentry Stone or a Shifting Stones unit in there, or the 5th free solo or something like that. Don't know how much I don't necessarily know how fantastic that is, but it's a really compelling idea to get that 4th card that we don't normally get, and there might be some value there. And with 1 to 2 Fulcrums, I think you can play kind of whatever battle group you would like, and then keep everything kind of safe. Don't know if there's any game there, but it's been interesting to think about. Outside of that, I've certainly given some credence to if there are other, if there's like a non-theme and or like Devourer's Host variation that might be strong with him. Mostly because the thing is that he is actually, up until the Wolds got buffed, he was actually considered generally better with the Living War Beast, because the +3 armor is obviously kind of good no matter what. So if you have a high armor value, making it even higher is great. But if if you can take something with high defense and make it so that it can't be knocked down with roots, which is one of the abilities it has, now, something like Getorix, who can already make himself armor 19, makes himself armor 22. He's defense 14. You also have a rock wall, so now he's defense 18 or 16, depending on if it's range or melee. Loki basically falls into the same category, but doesn't need to use his animus. Feral Warpwolves go up to armor 21 if they warp for armor, and so on and so forth. So, there's something to be said there. Where I've sort of landed, though, is Wolds get advantage of Elemental Mastery, I think it's called, that Baldur has. So I've sort of been like, well, that's a good benefit I don't really want to not have. You do get Megalith in any of his themes, so that's one good, sort of pun intended, rock for the list to have. And then, but right now with where the living heavies are, I've sort of resigned. Maybe not totally, we'll see, but I'm sort of resigned to the situation that I think at the point costs that those living heavies currently occupy versus their Wold variants, right? So I can bring a Feral who's going to be able to be, like I said, a 14/21, or I could just bring a Wold Guardian for 2 less points who hits comparably. Actually, he may just hit harder now. I'm not sure. I'd have to look. Comparably, without having to choose when he warps, and at 2 less points. I mean, he doesn't have the speed, obviously, but those are all kind of factors to consider there. So I'm kind of in a position right now where I think Bones, and maybe there's a Secret Masters build. I don't really think so. If Druids became Mark II and had counter magic again, I probably would do that in a heartbeat, and I would go no Old Wrath, because the counter magic. Just playing it in Agra and realizing how valuable that would have been, it was huge. You could go Devourer's Host to get a Getorix, Megalith, Feral type warband or battle group, stuff like that. But anyways, right now I think Bones is the strong theme. It's strong for a reason. It's gotten a lot of buffs, and I think that's probably the best way to go with him. I think there's a lot out there. And I'm going to keep exploring him. I kind of titled this Part 1 because I imagine if I'm hoping to play him some more and come back around maybe with some different findings. It's a different list than what I've been playing. So while he's not the most exciting caster, I am actually kind of in a positive place with playing him, just because I've really been ready. Probably been ready to sort of mix up my pairing just a little bit, and so we'll see. Part of why I'm trying this too is a player I trusted did suggest that Baldur is probably one of the drops that is that I can be looking at when I'm facing some of the Jack spam that's out there. So I am hoping that can be the case, as I've definitely needed some. I've needed to improve those matchups some, and so yeah, we will see how that works out. The rock wall is particularly strong in that matchup, I think. I do need to make sure I'm working out how to position it well, but I think I'll be okay there. Yeah. So anyways, like I said, part 1 of more parts. I don't have defined how many I'm going to go to. I just wanted to, and who knows, maybe I'll get excited about something else, and the part 1 will be here for years. But anyway, if you like the video, please hit the subscribe button, share us on social media, start in the conversation on Discord or on Facebook. Links below. Certainly happy to talk about some of this Baldur 2 tech, what you've played and what I'm talking about. See if some of my ideas maybe spark some curiosity for you. And as always, thanks for watching.